Welcome to the Franklin Method Fellowship. I'm your co-host Solange Ross, and I'm joined by my colleague Deborah Chassie. We are physical therapists specializing in the pelvic floor. In this podcast, we share our passion for the Franklin Method and integrating it into functional, everyday movements, all forms of exercise, and our physical therapy practices. We also share a love for talking about the pelvic floor. We hope to inspire you to move better and feel better in your body. Always check with your doctor before beginning an exercise program. This podcast is not intended to be used as medical advice. Let's grab your Franklin Method balls and bands. Enjoy the show. So this is episode 1 of the Franklin Method Fellowship. My name is Solange Ross, and I'm with my colleague Deborah Chassie, and we are 2 physical therapists who are passionate about the Franklin Method and integrating it into our physical therapy practices. And today we are going to be doing a practice on the heart. Show your heart mod. So, just to begin with, let's throw out to you guys, why do we have a heart? Have we ever thought about that question?
And I think that's a really good question about the heart. The heart is so important. I mean, we can't live without the heart, right? We have to have a heart in so many ways. We need to have a heart for everyday life, but we need to have a heart for our body to just be alive. And so if we think about it, our heart is delivering oxygen and nutrients to our brain and our whole body. And then when the body uses up all of the oxygen, it returns back to the heart so that then it can go to the lungs to get more oxygen, to oxygenate the blood, and then do the whole thing again. And it does that all day long. Pump, pump, pump.
It's just so fascinating, right? That it's doing this again and again. And we don't have to think about it and tell our heart, this is what you need to be doing.
That's right. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Oh, I love that part, that we don't have to think about it. It's just part of our design.
But we know in Franklin Method that, and we will experience as we go through this practice, that as we understand and notice and feel certain things, we can improve the function in our body and connect even more to our heart. So We're excited to bring that to you. So back to the functions. Is there anything else that the heart does?
Well, something that I love about the heart is that it's loving. and we experience emotions through the heart, and that's actually very real. It's not just about pumping blood, but it's also about loving and our emotions. And, we need to really think about everyday life and how do we share love, right? We do share it with our heart. And do you know that people that work in the medical field and are helping people, anybody who's helping people, so it's not just the medical field, that their heart is actually stronger? Have you heard that?
I love that.
Yeah, great?
I agree with that.
Yeah. So I have had this patient who she had lost her adult son, and she just grieved for so long. And so she came to see me because she was having trouble with her spine and, just some physical ailments. And so when I looked at her posture was rotated towards her heart. And so then I did a listening, which I do through the head, and just listen to how the fascia pulls in the body and the attraction to the body. And it took me right to her heart.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I'm looking at her posture, it's going towards her heart. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, we need to work on the heart today. And so what I said to her is, I said, well, what is it that you miss about your son? She goes, I just remember we would sit out on the patio and have a cup of coffee in the mornings. And, she just loved that connection with him. I said, well, you can still do that. And you can do that in your heart. So I want you to go to your heart right now and just picture yourself sitting with your son on the patio, connecting with him. So that's where you're going to connect with your son, is in your heart. And that gave her so much peace. And then, of course, I gave her some movements and imagery that she could do for her heart, right? To just make that connection and bring peace and calm to her. Yeah.
That's really wonderful.
Yeah, it was really sweet.
And I think too, there's so much power of just the energetics of the heart. And I know for us, we're used to practicing Franklin method in a group and standing in a circle. And when we started to meet and we all were meeting on Zoom, it was, even though we weren't in the same room, it was just so incredible, the connection that I still felt with everyone. And I felt that energetic connection. And I felt that from my heart to everyone's heart in the little boxes on the screen. And that was just so powerful for me that our practice as a Franklin Method group didn't change, even though we weren't standing in the circle. We were still in this like virtual circle. But that's just, again, the power of that energetics and the emotional aspect of the heart. Just being on screen with my Franklin Method colleagues is just like being in the same room with them.
Yeah. Yeah. And we feel that connection right now.
Yeah. So our heart goes out to all of you who are joining us today and sharing this practice with us. And why don't we begin just taking a few moments to check in and notice what we feel in the heart, different sensations in the body. It could be posture around the heart. It could be, and it could even be in regions, a little bit distal from the heart. It could be in your head. It could be in your torso. So we'll take a few moments just to close our eyes, or you can keep a soft gaze in front of you and just to notice and feel our heart. So we'll do that in 3, 2, 1, and go. And welcome back. So I think we should also throw in, before we get to what we were able to notice and feel, like why we do the check-in, right? It's important for us to go over that.
And I think that's really important too, the check-in, because we want to notice a baseline. Well, how do we feel before we practiced a movement compared to how we feel after we practice a movement? So we want to see what the change is.
Yeah. So if we don't know where we're starting from, how do we know that what we did worked? How do we know that we're choosing something that's appropriate for us to feel better? Or how do we know what posture we're even in when we start?
And that motivates us to continue the practice. So when we see the change, we're like, oh, I'm going to do that again, or I'm feeling this way right now and I want to make a change. And so what can I do to make that change? And you get it. It really helps to be practicing it all the time. So that way, when you're in a situation that you need to change quickly, what do you do? And you have
definitely.
Tools to take.
And you can't change if you don't know where you're starting from.
Yeah.
Well, you could change. We're all changing, but hopefully, we can change in the best possible way.
Yeah.
So what I thought was interesting in my check-in was how, I was drawn to just around where my heart is, and just the sensations that I felt were coupled with breathing. So I was really aware of around my chest and my rib cage moving, and then just some very, very I guess sounds, but at the same time, little bit of movements of the heart. There was
Just
definitely
map
like a
out on
low
our
level
bodies where the
sound
heart
there.
is.
And I was definitely drawn like up and down. So even though my check-in was in and around the heart, it was just like the sensations were expansive and radiating outwards from my center.
Yeah. And I'm going to show you with my model here what I was feeling. Because it was actually unique what I felt today. Every day is a new
Oh,
day. So here's the heart, right? You can see the heart. So I'm going to put this back on. And what I was feeling was I just felt this, my heart felt so large and I felt like it was like pushing against my lungs as it was beating and as I was breathing. I just felt like this whoosh, right? Kind of like if I take the lungs off. Yeah, it felt like this.
love that.
Yeah. And that was an awesome feeling. That was my starter. Oh, what's going to happen later? Looking forward to it.
I love to showing it on the model, Debbie, because so many of people who, if you're feeling your heart, we may not know how to even put these feelings into words. So when you're showing that, oh yeah, I think I was actually feeling it push out into the lungs. That was just such a beautiful image. And hopefully that can help everyone who's listening and joining us today just to practice those feelings sensations and putting those feelings into words or into an image in your mind. Do you want to go ahead with that, Deb?
Yeah. So I'm going to just bring this down a little bit so you can see. But the heart, so if we look at where it is in the body, here's my sternum. Some people might call it their chest bone. It's really more to the left of the chest bone. And if you can see, right, it's really the size of a fist. So this is much more exaggerated than the actual heart. But if you make a fist and put it right there, angled downward. So I'm going to really angled downward. And it's only 10.58 ounces. That's pretty lightweight. And it's also a cone shape. So here's the heart. And it's angled like this. So look at the back, right? Like an upside, well, yeah. Like,
it's not a heart. It's not a physical heart shape that we would draw in school. And it's not a circle.
Right. Yeah, not quite the same. Right. Like an ice cream cone. I like that. What's your favorite flavor?
My favorite flavor is I'm mint chocolate chip. I love mint chocolate chip. Mint is
I love that flavor too. Pistachio.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So, and then the heart is located behind the sternum. So, touch your chest bone, right? And you can feel your sternum as you touch it like that. And it sits right behind the sternum, a little bit to the left. And like I said, angled forward. And then I'm going to show you the model again because it really shows the location much better. Right. So there's the lungs. And here's all of your abdominal organs underneath your liver and your stomach, small intestines, large intestines. And so I'm going to take away the lungs. I love this model.
It's a great visual.
Isn't it? So here's the heart sitting slightly to the left. I'm going to take it out. And then if you look at what's behind it, so you have the trachea and the bronchioles. And the esophagus is behind that. So I think right there is the esophagus, and it goes into the diaphragm. So this is the diaphragm. I've got to take this out so you can see the diaphragm. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's an important part related to the heart. And then you also have the descending aorta, which is right behind there. So you can actually see it right there. And then of course it comes down lower. And then you also have the vertebral column, your spine, which is behind all of that. You can't see it on this model. And it's in between the lungs, as we talked about already, and it's just above the diaphragm. And there's a little ligament here that I'm going to tell you about later that's between the heart and also the diaphragm. So we'll have that to look forward to at the end.
So great. And we can just take a moment just to in our body, just with one hand or two hands on our heart, just to get a sense of that location. So behind the breastbone, we have the heart, and then behind the heart, the trachea and the bronchi with the esophagus and the spine, and then the lungs on either side, and then the diaphragm underneath. And from here, we can also, and I'm going to stand up for this maybe so everyone can see. Just check into the rhythm of our heart with breathing. So if we think about where our diaphragm is, so our diaphragm is along the angle of our rib cage. So if we touch along the angle of our rib cage, and then I'm going to model that with just my hand being curved, and then one hand for my heart. And then let's take a breath in. We know when we breathe in, our diaphragm moves down. And when we breathe out, our diaphragm moves up. And we have our heart, which is resting on top. So our heart is going to go along for the ride. Breathing in, out. And what's important is to really be quiet in your body and to not talk, because if you're trying to feel the rhythm of breathing and the movement of the heart with the diaphragm, but you're talking, it's not going to happen so much. So I'm going to quiet my talking. So just breathing in and breathing out.
It's good to exaggerate the movement to really feel that.
So it's not just resting straight up, it's resting a little bit on its right side. So because the diaphragm itself is a curve, and our heart is resting on its right side to begin with, when we take a breath in, the diaphragm's moving down, but it's also going to slide along that curve and rotate. So there's a little bit of a rotation. So breathing in, diaphragm moves down, and there's this rotation because it's going on a curve. And you could even model that if you have your hand on your chest, diaphragm moving down, and then just rotating your hand as if it would be sliding down the curve. Breathing in, it slides down and rotates, riding on the diaphragm. Inhale, moving down and rotating. Exhale, moving back up. And let's just for one moment try this on for size, because in Franklin Method, in order to be a believer, we like to do the opposite. Like, we don't want to just tell you things are the way they are. We're here to have an experience in our body. So let's, for a moment, the heart does not move down with the diaphragm. Let's try that on for size. Or the heart moves up when you take a breath in.
Feel like I'm going to choke.
I can't even do it. But let's go back to now breathing in, the heart riding down with the diaphragm and rotating. And riding back up as we exhale. And let's just take a moment and let's go back to our original check-in and see what we can feel in our body. What changes in posture, levels of tension. I actually feel very connected to my feet right now.
Yeah. You know where I feel it? Right here in my jaw.
I love that.
Kind of like a softening and like I want to smile.
And it's how, even though we're focusing on the heart, the changes that we're noticing and feeling are global in the body, and we're calling attention to those changes.
Mm-hmm. And I just feel my ribs now just being so much more expanded.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When we breathe in, the ribs come up. So you want me to go ahead and do the spine?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we flex forward, I'm going to put my heart back on.
Mm-hmm.
And if we flex,
and this is my heart too.
Yeah. If we flex forward in our spine, right, what's happening with the heart? It's resting on the sternum. So imagine your sternum being here. So I'm just going to use my pen as my sternum. And as you flex forward, feel how the heart just rests there, and just feel it. Like, feel the heart resting on your sternum. And then when you come back and go into extension, what do you have behind you? Your esophagus and your spine, right? And if you can imagine the heart resting on that esophagus and your spine. So let's do that a few times. Heart resting on that sternum. And back, resting on the esophagus and the spine. We'll do this about 5 times. Forward, the heart resting on the sternum. Can you feel the weight of it? And then
yes,
extending your back, your spine, the heart resting on the spine and the esophagus. And forward. Can you feel that weight on your sternum, Solange?
Yes. And I love just even going into extension and just that feeling of support, that something's behind the heart, the idea that it can just rest and be supported on the spine.
Yeah.
And the same thing, that like, it's like the flexion is supported. We're not just falling into gravity, but we have that support from the sternum.
Yeah.
And then as we go back, the support from the spine.
Right.
So it's toggling between these two strong structures, our breastbone
it's
and
kind
our
of
spine.
heart aerobics. Or
Heart aerobics.
yoga
I love it.
bodies. Yeah, that was great.
Mm,
And then what if we side bend,
yes.
right? So we've got the heart sitting on the diaphragm like you were talking about. And so when we bend to one side, is the heart going this way with it? Or is it going contralateral? Feels more natural to say it's going with it, doesn't it? Like leaning towards it, towards that side you're going to. And then when you
Yeah.
the other side, do you want to go to just one side first?
I'll go off both sides.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to teeter totter. Yeah. Feel the weight of it on the diaphragm and more on one side that you go to.
And I love the idea as I'm going to the side, my heart just resting in the lung as a soft pillow.
Yeah. That feels really good. Or how about as you go to that one side, the heart resting on the lung like a pillow, but the other lung being like a blanket, giving it comfort, like those weighted blankets.
I love that. So you've got a weighted blanket on top of the heart, and then you rest on this lovely soft pillow.
I actually feel more pressure on the heart when I do that, like a nice, comforting, grounding type of pressure.
It really feels very, very comforting to me, very soothing.
Yeah. Can you feel it in your throat?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I was with the heart, but then the minute that you said that, I was like, yes, I do feel, we looked at that connection going from the heart and then the trachea and where it bifurcates behind. And now that I'm doing this, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
Well, that was pretty interesting. You know what my favorite one is? So going back to the spine, right? We can rotate our spine, right? So if we just make our hands kind of free floating and rotate our spine. Now, imagine your heart swinging around your spine. That feels so good. It's my favorite heart exercise. So here's the spine, and the heart is just rotating around it. Yeah, put your hand on your heart. I like it better when my hands are free floating.
I go back and forth. I love it's even just part of my whole bedtime ritual is like I always connect with my hands on my heart and I go through a whole meditation, which begins with I have peace and love in my heart. My heart radiates peace and love. So there's something so comforting to me and soothing about just having my hands on the heart and then just taking them away and like going back and forth. But
that's so beautiful, Solange. I love it.
I love that that is a Franklin Method organ meditation. But it begins going through all the organs of the body. I have peace and love in my heart. My heart radiates peace and love. And I'll go through everything. I usually fall asleep somewhere as I'm making my way. So like my bladder and my rectum usually don't get acknowledgement, but it begins in the heart.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that. Yeah, it's so beautiful.
So after we've moved our spine and done some heart imagery, let's check in with our posture, our breathing. The first thing that comes to mind is like, I feel so very stable and I feel very wide and open across my chest, but not open in a way that I'm ready to give to the world. Open in a way that like I just feel like it feels very comfortable and spacious in my chest. Because often, yeah, go ahead.
So remember before it was more like this that I was feeling in my heart when we started, but now it's like this, and it's actually on both sides, like just like expansion up and down like that.
That's a great word. Expansion is a lot of what I'm feeling. Expansion is like the perfect word. And I think I also feel very comforted from the imagery that we did with the blanket over the heart and the pillow. Like that brought such a feeling of comfort and home, like being home in my body.
Home in your heart.
Home in my heart.
That's where the heart is.
Home is where the heart is. Then that, and they also say that the kitchen is the heartbeat of the home.
And you always win a man's heart through your food. Which I still can't understand because I'm a woman, so I can't understand that concept. They think it's true. It's true.
So I'm going to take my heart again, and one more exercise that we can do together is taking our arm and reaching forward and then reaching back. And when we reach forward, our heart is going to go back. And when we reach back, our heart is going to come forward. So arm reaches forward, heart back. Arm reaches back, heart forward. And when you're practicing along, it's really good to say everything out loud in addition to imagining. So reaching forward, heart back. Reaching back, heart forward.
Reaching forward,
heart back.
Reaching
back, heart forward. So
forward.
when you reach, get that heart all the way back. And then when you reach back, get that heart all the way forward. Do that one more time.
Feels so open, doesn't it? And what if we do this? Since we just experienced that on one side, if we just bring our arm up. Whoa, feel that movement in the arm compared to the other side? The side that
here, it's like my arm just floated up, like everything just really feels really spacious in my shoulder. And we can go ahead and balance on that right side. Let's check our balance.
Yeah.
Leg and bending and straightening the knee. And then comparing that sensation to the other side.
Yeah.
Should we balance ourselves out?
I think we ought to do the other side.
But it's so important.
Like this.
It's so important really to take the time for us to check in and have these moments where we feel the difference in the arm and the balance, because that's our brain cluing in that, yes, we are making a connection, and that we can change, and that we can have these feelings of expansion and lightness, as opposed to whatever sensations. For my mind was like a heaviness and just more of a sensation of stiffness on the other side. So here's my heart. So reaching the arm forward, heart back. Reaching the arm back, letting the heart come forward. Reach the arm forward, heart back. Reach the arm back, heart forward. Forward, heart back.
Oh, good.
Arm back, heart forward. Arm forward, heart back. Arm back, heart forward. As you reach forward, let the heart go all the way back. And then as you reach forward, let the heart come all the way forward. Do that one more time. Arm forward, heart back. Arm back, heart forward. And let's not forget our comparison.
Oh, wow.
So much better.
Oh, that was great. Wow. Free floating.
Free floating.
Yeah.
And we can do a little bit of integration of both sides together. So one of my favorite metaphors for the heart and the lungs is that when the arms come forward, the lungs are the clouds and they're covering the sun, which is the heart. And then as we open the arms, the clouds part ways and the heart emerges. So bringing the arms forward, reaching, the clouds cover the sun. And then the clouds part as we reach back and the sun emerges. Covering the sun. And let the sun emerge. And you can even fill in the setting of where you are. So you could be on a beach. You could be on a meadow. Whatever you imagine that surrounding that you are in. Doesn't have to be exactly where you are in your home. One more time, let the clouds cover the sun as you reach forward. And let the sun emerge as you reach back.
I'm thinking of a wave.
I love that.
The heart with the wave. Right? So the heart's going forward and then it's going back. Forward and back.
Oh, I love that. And I love the beauty of the practice is that images come spontaneously. And hopefully you guys will begin to enjoy that as well, that as you practice, something may come up in the moment for you. And it's so important just to try that on for size. You know, and it could be something that you enjoy doing. It could be even be a memory from childhood. It could be something that relates to the heart, something that really speaks to you. And so I encourage you to, if that comes up, to just try it on for size.
Yeah,
so,
and you know, that image just came to me. Mentioned what did you say? The beach or something like that? Imagine that.
Yeah, the beach. And then you were the wave.
And then all of a sudden I thought, oh, a wave, that would be so perfect, right? Just this movement of going forward and back, you know, as the wave recedes. And yeah, so beautiful. But there's so many images that we could use. Right.
So
and
many
everyone
images.
has a different background. So that's kind of the beauty of it. And that's why we're the fellowship.
We are the fellowship, and we hope you'll bring, we'll hope you'll bring your comments, questions to the table, to the circle. We'd love to hear from you and your heart. So
Yeah.
as we close our practice today, we want to just, from our hearts to your hearts, thank you for being with us. And we look forward to you joining in with us next time. So enjoy these sensations that you feel in your body relating to your heart. And do you have anything to add, Deb?
No, I think that's just really awesome. There's so many things that we could share with you about the heart, but we're not going to do it all in one session. So
we'll share more.
We'll share more, and we'll probably bounce around to different parts of the body. But we're really looking forward to sharing this with you and hoping that you will experience it as well. Thank you for joining.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we would love for you to leave us a review. We also have a membership program. For only $10 a month, you get access to a live recorded bonus class or a live recorded Q&A. Visit CompleteCoreNYC.com for more details and to sign up. We look forward to practicing with you and continuing to share our passion. In the Franklin Method, we say, embodying function improves function. Keep practicing, and we'll see you all next time.